Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the BroncCast, the official Cal Poly Pomona Athletics podcast. I am your host, Tyler Loby, the Assistant Athletics Director for Communications here at CPP. This week's podcast features members of the CPP men's soccer team. I sit down with head coach Matt O'Sullivan, senior Garrett Jensen, and freshman Harrison Cliff to review the 2019 season, discuss the foundation that has been laid in recent years to put CPP men's soccer on the map in Division II, how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected more than just the United States of America, and finally, more of your favorite rapid-fire questions. Here it is, episode 4 of the BroncCast. All right, here we are with head coach Matt O'Sullivan and senior Garrett Jensen and freshman Harrison Cliff. Thanks for being with us today on the BroncCast. Head coach Matt O'Sullivan, go ahead and I already mentioned your name, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, Matt O'Sullivan, first year head coach. We're going into my second year this year. Originally from Preston, England, and then I moved to the States at 18. I got into college coaching in 2007 in Texas at university, was Division II at the time, now Division I in Incarnate Word. And then I went and moved to St. Edwards, which is in Austin, Texas. I was there for 7 years. St. Edwards is actually disbanded the program, so just this year, unfortunately. But we had a lot of success. We ended up coming across Cal Poly a couple of times. And then I went to Division I in the Big West in California in UC Irvine. And then I was there for 2.5 years, and then landed here in Bronco Nation and Cal Poly.
And Garrett.
My name's Garrett Jensen, like you said. I'm from Chino Hills, California. I'm a 4th year, and I'm majoring in biology. And then I plan to do physical therapy, like go to a PT school and get a degree in PT. But yeah, so that's my plan.
All right, and Harrison.
I'm Harrison Cliff. I'm a freshman. I'm originally from Reading, England, and still there now. I'm majoring in international business. And after college, I hope to do something in the soccer industry. But we'll see where I end up.
All right. Well, thanks for being with us, Matt. Before we get started, you didn't mention in your introduction that you also played in the CCAA in college at Cal State Bakersfield before they made the jump to Division I. How was that experience in Division II at Cal State Bakersfield? And you played all of these teams that you are coaching against now.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I was there for 3 years. I was supposed to go for 4. There's a little issue in terms of coming over and in terms of like what transferred over from credits in England. So I went to a junior college for 1 year in the Bay Area called Las Positas College, and then transferred down to Bakersfield. I was there for 3 years, and I played in the CCAA. Was lucky enough to win it. I don't know. One of the claim to fame would be winning it as a coach and win it as a player as well. So was able to kind of experience that as a player, and it was fantastic, and it's nice to see like the rivalries, still kind of intact in a lot of aspects. So it's fun to play against the Dominguez's and the LAs of the world back then, and it's still fun to play against them now.
You walked into a job with very, very high expectations last year. And you did it like within about a month of training camp starting. Okay. Team had been to the West Region, had been West Region champions the last 2 years before you started, had been to the Final Four. And since 2014, the team had gone 81-23-9. Okay. Walk me through those first couple of weeks, trying to get your feet wet, trying to get to know players, all while trying to get ready for a season where you fly up to Seattle, then cross the border to Canada. Walk me through that whole time.
Yeah, it's been an interesting first year. So I think I was technically my first start date was August 1st. And then preseason started, I want to say like the 15th or the 17th or something around that, like 2 weeks after. As quick as I could, I was just trying to get to know people, and get to know who everyone was, and obviously my staff, and trying to even recruit a couple more players. We brought in a couple more players than what we had. But yeah, I knew when I took over what I was getting into, and that's what excited me a bit. It's often, I mean, coaches talk about this all the time. You either get hired because someone's done well and they've moved on, or you get hired because someone has not done well and you kind of take over what you've got, So, I was in the first option in terms of that. Yossi, 6-7 years ago, changed the identity of this program. And then Adam, who was here with Yossi at the time, was able to take over and do a fantastic job, and take them. I think they went to 3 Final Fours in 6 years or maybe
4 years.
5 years. So yeah, I mean, I knew kind of, taking over that would be very, very difficult to get back to that level, but that we wanted to get to that level. It didn't start so great, which I think made it all the more, rewarding at the end when we did really well. We could have done better, and sometimes it comes down to a little bit of look in front of goal, or just finishing off chances, which we did in the playoff game. But I think overall as a season, we were very, very pleased with what we achieved. Again, it always comes down to those games. You got to score chances. And in that game against Bernardino, I think we had 22 and they had 4. We missed our chances, so it was very difficult to take. But overall, as a first year, it was very rewarding both on and off the field.
Garrett, your first 2 seasons at Cal Poly Pomona, you were part of those West Region teams and Final Four teams under the previous head coach, Adam Reeves. Then last summer, you were hit with the news that Coach Reeves took the position at the University of the Pacific up in Stockton. Then after a national search, Coach O'Sullivan was hired. From the student-athlete perspective, what was going through the minds of you and your teammates as that process was unfolding, and considering you were so close to the start of the season?
It's kind of funny because I remember like Adam Reeves calling me, like saying that he's going to leave, and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, that's going to be a big change. Like it was like the middle of the summer. Like we're just going to start captain's practice. Like, I can't believe we're going to get a new coach. But the funny thing I was going to mention was when like I wasn't able to go to the interview processes because we were able to like be there to interview the coaches like towards the very end. But we have like a group chat with the guys and they're talking about like the new coaches, all this stuff. And they all of them really wanted Matt, like clear consensus. They wanted Matt. And I remember when the first time I met him and I heard he had a British accent, I was like no one mentioned that he was like had an English accent. And I was like, oh man, like this is something like I feel like, I don't know, it's just different, like having someone with a different accent. So that was pretty funny. But it was definitely nerve-wracking, like especially with the history that we had and everything, and how comfortable everybody was with like Yossi or with Adam because of how they were with Yossi. But when Matt came in, it honestly was not like, it was almost like a continuation of what Yossi and Adam have implemented in like the system and stuff. So honestly, I don't think there would be much better of a fit than Matt.
Now you guys, both of you have mentioned it already, and I was going to get to it. The one common denominator in all of this success is former Cal Poly Pomona head men's soccer coach, Yossi Raz. He started here in 2013, built this program into a complete powerhouse. And then he goes off to UC Irvine before the 2016 season. Matt, you were his assistant at UC Irvine. Garrett, you were most likely recruited by him before he took off. Even though Coach Yossi is no longer here and he hasn't been for 3 years, it still seems that he has a huge impact on this program.
Yeah, I would say I feel like I think I met him, like I've never played under him. I met him, I think like twice or something, but from the stories that like past players have told, he I think just built like he's definitely a big personality and just built like the fundamentals of what a lot of the things we do now. Like he instilled those fundamentals and the ideologies that we play with now. So I think that's why his name is constantly brought up, because he's kind of like the foundation of this program, of what this program is now.
Matt, you
Yeah.
want to kind of expand on that?
Yeah, you know, the first time I came across with Yossi was when I was at St. Edward's, and we made the Sweet 16, and so did they. But we were playing across bracket, so the West played the West, and the South Central played the South Central. Unfortunately for both of us, we lost them games, so we didn't actually get to play against each other in the Elite Eight. But I kind of knew a lot about Cal Poly and what he had done and kind of how they played, because I'd watched a lot of video on them. And he knew a lot about me and kind of how we did things. And so I think that before anything happened with me going to Irvine, you know, we had a very common ground on a lot of aspects, kind of how we coached and what we valued. And that's ultimately why I ended up going to Irvine with him, because I think the same values that he built into Cal Poly, he wanted to build into Irvine. And he wanted to do that with, you know, other good coaches, and both myself and Kel Rodriguez, who's their lead assistant now, both shared the same values. And so I think what he built into this program is the values of kind of where we are. You know, so I think that he's a very, very bright mind in football, or in soccer, should I say. Very, very attack-minded coach, and I think that style of play has been very, very clear here. So it's not just the winning; it's also kind of how players are developed. You know, the mentality, kind of the aggressive mindset to kind of how we played the game. And I think Adam definitely, you know, continued that in his own way, and did a great job. And I know he had some great assistants here as well, and with Bob and you know, people who've been around the game a long time. And overall, you know, I think the last 6-7 years in this program has brought a lot of success. But yeah, it's definitely derived from kind of what Yossi had built. So it's been, you know, great to kind of be friends with them as well, other than just like coaches in the community. I'm also good friends with them, and I speak to them a lot. Myself and Adam have a lot in common, because obviously when I was starting this job, he was starting the Pacific job. So we had a lot of conversation back and forth earlier on, kind of like we were both started not so great. You know, and he was joking that he should never have left. And, you know, I always said, no, you did the right thing. Because that obviously gave me opportunity. So, you know, I think that common ground we have with each other and being able to, you know, talk to each other and help each other is really good. But I think all the former players in this program that Yossi brought in, and also players that we have now that Adam and Yossi brought in together as, you know, when Adam was his assistant. And then the players that Adam brought in are all in the same mindset to kind of where this program's going. So it's fantastic to have them.
Yeah, even though Coach Yossi has been gone for a couple years, and then of course Coach Adam Reeves, he left last year. I've seen them at games here. Yeah. They come and support Cal Poly Pomona, even though they're long gone. And I know that Coach Reeves, he came down for one of the games, and they were actually Yossi and Adam, they were sitting in the stands together. And how much of, I know that they watch your games and follow you all season long. How much did you ask them for advice maybe at certain times of the season? I mean, you started 0-3-1, and we'll get to that here in a second. But how much did you kind of rely on Yossi and even Adam for a little bit of advice, at least starting off?
Yeah, I mean, the beginning it was mainly Adam, because he knew the players so well. You know, Yossi didn't know some of the players that we had. We'd always played in pre-season against each other or in spring games against each other. So yeah, normally, originally it was a lot of speaking to Adam and kind of find out a little bit about each player and kind of even the staff as well. He worked with Pepe and Cruz. So I think there was a lot of discussion earlier on about, kind of dealing with each player and how to treat each player and all that stuff. But I also think as a coach, to be fair to the players, you need to get away from what everybody else thinks about them. You also have to build your own relationships. So I think as the season started, I wanted to kind of distance myself a little bit from everything that was going on, even from my assistant's opinion, because, at the beginning, like Pepe and Cruz have been around, Jose Ortega and Cruz Hernandez, I should say, just so everyone knows. But my assistants at the time, they already had their opinion of each player because they've been around for long enough. So their opinions of each player I didn't want that just to weigh upon what my opinion would be. I wanted to give everybody a fresh start of kind of like, this is who I am. Please treat me as an individual. And I know who you are, and I'll try and treat you as an individual. So I think for everybody on the squad, it was kind of like a fresh start. And I was able to, at that point, kind of have my own relationship with those players. But yeah, definitely leaned upon both of them. We're all in college soccer. And I also leaned upon a lot of my mentors in college soccer as well. Got a great mentorship kind of team, I guess it would be the best way of putting it. But if you just look at my references on my resume, there's some very, very good coaches in my network that I was able to call and kind of get advice from and really hear from them about what they thought about each situation. And to the start, I mean, I know you're going to bring the start up, but it was a tough start. But I think the good thing about the start is that we were actually playing pretty well. We played pretty well and lost games. I think Concordia would probably sum it up. I mean, we could have been 8-0 up. I mean, it was like we absolutely dominated the first half. It was like we couldn't score enough. We scored 2 and it was 2-0. And then kind of the wheels fell off a little bit. I think we got tired in that game. And then some of the negative things happened. I think we started to panic a little bit. And that what led us to kind of like 0-3-1 and our heads being down and like, oh, we're in for a long one. But I think the guys were very, very strong mentally. This was a team that's obviously a lot of those players have been in big time situations. And just little by little, we kept chipping away. And I think we won 12 out of the next 13. So we were able to turn it around.
Now, Garrett, sorry to interrupt you, but Garrett, 0-3-1, how often were you texting Coach Reeves and saying, hey, who is this guy you left us with? Can you come back?
Well, actually, like the year before that, I think we started off like 1-4 and something like just as bad. So like, and the year before that too, I think. So a lot of the guys, there was some worry because like the whole new coach thing, but a lot of it was like, hey, we've been here before. Like, look how far we've gone, even though we've, like started off not so well in past seasons. And I think that's like one of the things that really helped us was like we've had experience in kind of like losing at the beginning. Like we're able to like, okay, we need to buckle down, like get our stuff together and like really focus. And I think a lot of it too is because we try to play a different type of soccer. Like we try to play, like I know with Adam, like when we were losing Adam Reeves and even with Matt, like at the beginning of the season, we had conversations of like, we could play a certain system and probably win, but you're not going to gain any soccer knowledge. That's just purely to win. Like we want you to gain something from this and become better players and overall become a better team because of how you play, not because of a certain system. So I was a little nervous at first, obviously, like how can you not? But in the end, I mean, I wish we went further, but I can't complain with what we gained and the knowledge and the time we had. So
absolutely. Now, Harrison, I will get to you, I promise. Hang in there.
No worries.
Now, getting detailed into the 2019 season, had a tough start. As you mentioned, you traveled to Canada, opened the year. You played some really tough teams. You lost the 13th ranked Simon Fraser at their place. You tied Montana State Billings, lost in overtime to Azusa Pacific, who had spent the rest of that whole season as the number one team in the country. And then you had a setback against Concordia Irvine to start 0-3-1. But then something clicked. I mean, it was you then blow out Hawaii Hilo 6-0. And then you go on and you went 10-1-1 in conference play. You had a couple games there where you scored seven goals. I mean, back to back. I mean, it was pretty impressive offensive, showcase. Then you finished second in the conference behind LA, beat LA in the conference tournament championship to earn the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. You earn a first round bye. And then, of course, you play Cal State San Bernardino the entire match, but lose 1-0. I mean, that's soccer. Soccer's a funny game. Take me through the highs and lows of last season. And I'll let any of you start that one.
I mean, at the beginning, you have the high of like, it's the new season, so you're always pumped at the beginning of a season. So that's always exciting. And especially like going to Canada. I mean, I remember like 2 years before the seniors are saying like, man, like in 2 years, you're going to get to go to Canada. Like they were excited for us. So you're always excited just to travel and you're with like a bunch of your friends. So, I mean, that's always fun. And then, like I said, when we started losing, it was a low, but nothing that we haven't been through before. And then that whole win streak was just like, it really just built our confidence. Like after that Hawaii Hilo game, like a lot of it is just confidence and buying into the system that like Matt is presenting to us and understanding it honestly. So the fact that we were able to kind of get into our groove and each game win and build more confidence and over and over and over, like at that point we're as high as you can be, we're excited and we know how great of a team we have. And then even like one of our games we lost to LA, we talk about it all the time. Even though we lost, like that was one of the turning points because we knew like we saw how much we can dominate and how well we can play. And I think after that, it was just like a big moment within the team where people just like fully bought into what playing at Cal Poly is. And then the San Bernardino game, or winning the conference finals or championship was great too. But then that San Bernardino game, I just like, it was just a tough one because you just know how great we played and like it sucks because there's nothing you can do about it. And like Matt has said, like sometimes it doesn't go your way and like we had opportunities that we just didn't put away. But it was like one of those bittersweet moments where we really saw like how great our team is, but at the same time, like it was over just like that, like when no one expected it. So it was quite the dramatic and up and down season, but in the end, like it was an amazing season.
Yeah, I mean, I think for my standpoint, it comes down to certain games that really recap it. I think in the Azusa game, we played very well. We're up 3-2 with a minute left, and then the referee gives a very, debatable free kick, and they score from it. And then we literally give it to them in overtime. So I think after that game, I didn't think we played brilliantly, but I felt like, okay, well, if this is one of the best teams in the region, like we're right there. Concordia were completely dominated. Should have been an easier win than we end up doing, and we end up losing that. But even after that game, I was like, okay, we just need to get back on track. So I think the UCSD game gave us a lot of confidence. We played San Bernardino here. We played really well in the first half. We didn't play well in the second. But the UCSD, we played really well throughout, and that's a really good team. So when you play the best teams, you kind of realize where you're at. I think the important trip was Chico because it's a hard place to play. The field was really bad, and it was a really poor game. We didn't play great, but we managed to grind out a win. And then as Garrett mentioned, we got rolling, and then we played LA, and despite losing, I thought we outplayed them. We had, I think it was like 24 shots to 9 or something like that. we had some unbelievable chances in that game to win it. But, again, right away you could watch LA and you go, okay, they're going to be there or thereabouts at the end. Obviously, they went to the final. But I felt like when we played them, everybody was like, okay, we're on board, because we played them so well that I think it gave us a lot of confidence. And then at that point, we were just kind of rolling, and it was fun and just playing. Obviously, we ended up going on to win the conference tournament. The San Bernardino game, I've watched back. Like most of these games I've watched back, we've had a lot of time to be able to kind of analyze and watch. And yeah, we played as good, I think, as we played all season in that game. We missed, probably 8 to 10 like legitimate chances, like 4 or 5 that were in the 6-yard box that we just headed wide, or we didn't get good connection on. And they scored early and kind of held on to it. So I think if we score in that game, we go on and win it. Not comfortably, but we win it for sure. So, but overall, as a season, I was delighted with the guys, kind of like what we were able to showcase. It always will come down to, in the NCAA tournament, how you play in each individual game as you go, And unless you win the national championship here, you're always going to think about that game, that one game. That's been in the national final sometimes. That's been in the semifinals in the last couple of occasions for the guys. And even in those games, I think that there's probably a lot of moments, and Garrett probably mentioned that they felt like they could have won that game. And then gone on to the final, and you just never know what happens, right? So I think at all the times when you're in the NCAA tournament, it is a very fragile position for any sport in any NCAA tournament. It's just that one-off chance, and you got that one shot, and you got to take it. And no more so in soccer is it so fragile that you could literally. I've played NCAA tournaments, and we've had 20 shots, they've had 1, and we lost 1-0. So it happens, and it will happen again. And I hope that for us, we're on the right side of those.
Absolutely. Now, present day. They've last couple months for everybody, no matter what sport you're playing, no matter if you're playing sport or not. It's been tough with this whole COVID-19 situation. For you, Matt, it's probably been a whole new level of difficult. You have brought on 18 newcomers. Am I correct on that number?
16
newcomers, most of which you probably have never met in person. Is that fair to say?
Most of them. No, we actually recruited quite early, so we'd met most of them in person.
Okay.
But yeah, there's 1 or 2 that I've not met in person yet.
Okay. And 7 of those guys, they list their hometown outside of the United States, and Harrison is one of them. On top of that, and I'm going to go a little personal here, you have 3 young kids at home. One that was born in November, December, correct?
January, but yeah.
Well, I know it was around like the Christmas, winter time, somewhere around there. Yeah. I have 2 kids of my own. I know how hard that's been, having to juggle all of that. How have you been able to juggle everything, to keep the team together, to keep them, kind of motivated to continue to train and train on their own, I guess. Just take me through the last couple months.
Yeah, it's been an interesting time, to say the least. As you mentioned, with 3 young kids, it becomes more interesting because the more you're at home, the more you're consistently dealing with the day-to-day, like things that the kids need all the time. They always need something. It was hard early on. You couldn't do any really assault, and we couldn't see my in-laws. So it was just literally me and my wife kind of battling away. And what I mean by that is I would be working and she would be watching the kids, and then vice versa. She would be working and I would be watching the kids. So it was a non-stop thing. But I think we have it pretty good because we're both there for each other, and we make it a lot easier on each other, I think. Then when you start to get the family able to, there's obviously different periods of this, of coronavirus and kind of what we've been dealing with. But then there was the point where we were able to see more family and kind of get back to a norm. And that was more helpful because then my in-laws were able to help out a lot with the kids. They're still not back in school yet for us. I mean, some kids are, and we thought about it. We decided that we would wait until the end of the year. And a lot of that, again, is a family choice because of my in-laws. So, yeah, really, it's a fun time as well. You know, you kind of got to take the tough like part of like just being so busy, but also, you know, being busy with your kids is fun as well. So I think what I've been able to do is lean upon my staff, and also lean upon a lot of the seniors. And so with the seniors, we had a senior leadership group formed early in January when we were actually on campus. Kind of moving away from 2019 to moving to the 2020 team. I knew we were going to bring in a lot of different, you know, new players, which is 16 of them. We have 16 returning players. So pretty much half of our roster is new. And so very, very important that the seniors and the senior leadership group in particular were fully on board of kind of like what their role was. And their role, I mean, I think Garrett can maybe chat about their role a little bit, but I think their role was ultimately to help move us forward as a program and help integrate guys like Harrison into the program that, you know, now I feel like we now know a lot about each other, and we've done a lot of groundwork on that. So I don't know, maybe the guys have a little bit of a good perspective on that.
Yeah, I was going to add into that. Like for the, like how Matt was saying, the leadership group, for a player to like player relationship is obviously different than a coach to player relationship. So a lot of us seniors and older players are able to kind of give tips and just like personal experience because it's something that we've gone through that Matt hasn't gone through maybe, you know? So, and I think it's important for us because there's, when we first started, there was 4 of us. So it's grown a little now, but it just was nice because you were able to make these connections with the new players and kind of integrate them into the squad, and not just so like, especially now, like if we didn't have that, they'd have no idea like really about anything in the at Cal Poly, you know, they'd be just kind of in the dark until we went back, but that's only going to hurt us if they're starting from scratch, you know? So it's, I think it was something that we really didn't have with like Adam Reeves. I mean, obviously we had like captains and stuff, but to have a group that's kind of together and then able to bring all the new players together really just brings the whole team together, obviously. So, yeah.
Perfect segue right into Harrison. Welcome to the BroncCast.
Thank you. Thank you.
It can't be easy for you coming in as a freshman, especially being, I mean, there's plenty of freshmen that are from California that at least have, you know, been in, that know all about California and maybe know a little bit about Cal Poly Pomona, but you're from England. You're in England right now. I mean, how has this been for you?
It wasn't what I planned, put it that way. It's been strange, but also at the same time, I think it's given me time to kind of, you know, actually make an effort and, you know, on the Zoom calls that we have and stuff. It's kind of similar to what Coach Matt said. It's like, I know the boys, but I've never even met them, if that makes sense. I know, you know, even speaking to Garrett, speaking to Ateno, speaking to Christian, I kind of know those boys, but I've never met them, which is strange. But it's been, I mean, it wasn't, like I said, it's not ideal for anyone at the moment, but it's been, particularly in another country, all the time differences and stuff. I mean, you know, they're talking about meetings at 9 a.m., 10 a.m. And I'm like, for me, that's like 5, 6 p.m. It's a bit of a, kind of like my body clock just goes, right, okay, I'm not waking up for meetings. I'm waking up to do my lessons from the night before and stuff like that. But no, it's been fun. I'm much more used to it now. At the start, like I'm sure everyone can relate to, it was difficult. But now I'm just kind of in the general swing of thing and in the routine of it. Obviously, I'd rather be out there now training with everyone and seeing everyone in person, but that time will come.
So we are recording this right now at 9:30 in the morning on, you know, in the Pacific time zone. What time is it right now in England where you're at?
It's 5:40 p.m. for me.
Okay. So yeah, definitely a huge time difference for not just, you know, team meetings and all of that, but also your classes and stuff like that. That's, I mean, some of, I assume maybe you have some afternoon classes that are afternoon here. It's probably in the middle of the night there. I mean,
Yeah.
how are you able to do those classes if that's the case?
To be fair, at the moment, my body clock's kind of shifted a bit. So like I said, the first week, maybe 2 weeks was difficult, and I was struggling with it. But now I'm just kind of used to just staying up later for classes and catching up with the work when I wake up in the morning. So no, I'm in the routine now. But at the start, yeah, it was definitely like I'm meant to be going to sleep now and I'm getting ready to learn. It was a bit strange, but no, it's all fine.
How did you find Cal Poly Pomona? I mean, I assume you've stepped foot in the United States. Is that fair to assume?
I was about 4, so I don't remember a lot
Oh,
about it.
okay. But you haven't
No.
been back since. I mean, how did you
No.
find Cal Poly Pomona? Was it Matt that found you? And kind of take me through that whole process.
Well, I used an agency, a guy called Tom Nutter. I think I contacted him because I was interested in going out to the States and have a scholarship. And I was signed on with him and was playing showcase games. Then Coach Matt got in contact with me, and I, kind of looked at the college, and I was speaking to other coaches, etc., etc. And then I believe he came to one of my showcase games, I think it was, and we met up after the game. And like I said, I was speaking to other coaches at the time, but I remember the first thing that Matt said to me was, the exciting thing about you is what you can improve on. And I was like, it's kind of like no other coach, all the other coaches said, oh, you're good at this, you're good at that, but Matt was like, no, I'm excited about what you're not good at. And I was like, at the start, I was a bit like, I don't know if he thinks I'm good or not, but I was kind of like, actually, looking at all of it, I want to go out to America and I want to go to a place where I know I can improve the most, because that's genuinely what I want. I want to become the best player I possibly can to try to do the most I can with soccer. So then I was kind of like, plus obviously it helps Matt being English as well. That helps, but that was, for me, that's kind of when I was like, okay, yeah, I think Cal Poly's the place for me.
Now we all, meaning Garrett and Matt, and then maybe probably more than half of the people that are going to be listening to this podcast, know how America has dealt with COVID. How has England dealt with COVID? How has it been for you guys?
I remember when the lockdown started, they put in all these rules and social distancing and stuff like that, and not many people were following them, to be fair. I knew a lot of people that weren't really, abiding by the rules. And then when the cases really started to spike and the deaths really started to go up, I think from England's point of view, people took it more seriously and people were staying indoors, and everywhere was completely dead. And then recently, well, by recent I mean in the last month and a half, they've allowed certain public places to open if you wear a face mask. And then now we've just had a lot of spikes in the last few weeks. There's a talk about a second lockdown, or they're changing it to 6 people at a table rule. So it's kind of going back to where we were a few months ago. So I say we've dealt with it well, but then at the same time we kind of haven't. But the thing is, no one knows. So from England's point of view, not great, but
So on par with America. That's
I would.
right. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to say. I said no. It's I would say it's with America. Yeah, it's a little bit all over the place.
Can I add to that as well? We have Finley Jackson, who's also from England, but we have Oscar Facey. He's in Sweden, and we have Olma Green. He's in Israel. Eduardo is actually here. Eduardo Faria is in America, but his family's back in Brazil. And same with Thomas Guy, his family's back in France. So we have enough representation around the world to see kind of like how each country's dealt with it, and speaking to each student athlete, and even some of the recruits. I've spoken to some recruits in different countries across the world, one from India, and one from Africa. And it is interesting kind of like the impact that it's had on every different country and the way they've dealt with it. And it's all been different. So it's definitely something that we discuss a lot as a program, and kind of like the way we're doing it. So, but I guess in my recruiting, I like to give out backhanded compliments that will inspire the guys to want to come and play for me.
Have any of you picked up any new skills during this pandemic? I
mean, I'll say this. I've gone from not working out a lot to working out every single day. So I don't know if that's a skill, but I'm going to try and do a triathlon.
I'll say that's a skill. I'll say it's a skill because I've done more bike riding and stuff.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I call that exercise and working out. That's about all I do.
Yeah, I've been working out like a madman. So it's probably one of the skills I guess I would have done.
Anyone else?
For me, I've been really into plants lately. Like at the beginning of this, like I went from like no plants in my room and now I have like 10 or something. And then so because I was just like I have nothing to do, like I just need some sort of like stimulation, something I can see grow. So that's been my thing lately.
I can tell you my grass outside right now is probably the greenest it will ever be because I have definitely taken care of the lawn a lot better than I probably would have if I was working. Yeah. Harrison, anything for you?
I've been actually getting better at DIY stuff. So if anything needs building in the garden, or even in the house, wardrobes, drawers, you name it, I've helped my parents build it. That's what I would say. I've got better at because I was useless before. Yeah, that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually how I learn all the stuff that I need to do. Is Google it and find it on YouTube. That's about right. Okay, we're gonna switch gears a little bit and do a little bit of rapid fire questions to wrap things up. We got a couple minutes, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask you a quick question and let you think about it for a second, and then you guys will just go ahead and pop off with the first thing that comes to your mind. We're gonna start with Harrison, and then we'll go to Garrett, and then Matt. So when I answer the question, just go ahead and answer it in that order to Harrison, Garrett, and then Matt. You guys ready?
Okay, yeah.
All right. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Very good. When you're sleeping, fan or no fan?
Fan.
Fan, as you can see.
See the fan up there, yes.
Yeah, fan as well.
Comedy or horror?
Comedy.
I would say comedy.
I wouldn't say horror, but I'm a big like thriller fan. Like I like those thrillers. My wife doesn't necessarily like the thrillers at all, so I have to watch those when she goes to bed. But who was your first celebrity crush?
So many. I'm gonna go with Shakira.
Okay.
Yeah, mine was Beyonce, Shakira. That was like my first 4 years old. I don't know why. Something about I loved them.
Well, you might know this, Tyler. The guys might not know it. Saved by the Bell, Kelly Kapowski.
Yes, I do know that. I watch that show all the time.
Yeah.
Kelly Kapowski. What was her real name? Thiessen. Something Thiessen, right?
Yeah.
Tiffany
Tiffany
something Thiessen. And
yeah.
people watching this would be like yelling at their screens. It's
Right.
this. And probably not even Tiffany, but I think that's in her name somewhere because she got 3 names, right? Anyway.
I don't know. I can't remember, but
Hamburger or hot dog?
Hamburger.
yeah, hamburger.
Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
That's
right?
the one.
Okay, yeah, I think that's
Right.
it. Just came to
Got
me.
it.
Would you rather be lost in the mountains or on an island?
Mountains.
Island.
I gotta say island. I think gotta get the beach in there.
Yeah. Not so cold.
Sometimes cold. I mean, that wind coming off the ocean could be cold. So you're probably gonna be cold either way. What? Okay, this will be fun. What is the best soccer team in the world?
Barcelona.
I would say Barcelona. The history.
I'd like to say Preston North End. I would
No chance.
probably one of the Spanish teams, Real Madrid or Barcelona.
Okay. What reality TV show would you most want to be on?
Go keeping up with the Kardashians. There's a lot of money, a lot of cars and stuff.
Okay.
Dude, I don't even know. Oh, I do like the what are they called? Like the dating shows, like Love Island or something. Just the drama that's on there is it's the worst.
Great shout.
I love
Great shout.
it.
I would probably go with like Survivor.
All right. Well, I'll admit something too. Love Island is on at this house every night as well. What do you guys think of the Johnny Selly debacle going on right now?
It just, I don't know. I'm not even like that up to date on it, but the fact that I know what it is so bad.
Yeah, no, agreed there. What is the first thing you do when you wake up every morning other than roll out of bed?
I would say check my messages from the night before, because most of the group chat messages are at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'd say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say as bad as the whole, I don't know if you've seen the Netflix thing, The Social Dilemma, but first thing I do is check my phone.
That would be drink a glass of water. Right away. As soon as I get up, I try and drink a glass of water. Not even before I get up. Because I normally work out in the mornings, and I try and drink a glass of water before I even get out of bed.
Mine would be, I really should put my coffee pot right next to my bed, because that's really, I rush downstairs to start that coffee. Dog or cat?
Dog.
100% dog, yeah.
Yeah, you probably heard my dog actually on this.
And what is the last thing? I think I know what Garrett's answer is going to be based on what he just said a couple minutes ago. What is the last show you watched on Netflix?
Oh, mine was Social Dilemma as well.
Yeah, Social Dilemma.
Yeah, same. Social Dilemma.
That'll be the next thing I watch, because I know I've heard plenty of people talk about it. So I'm really interested in seeing how that is. Would you rather be rich or have multiple superpowers?
Multiple superpowers.
Yeah, superpowers, because you can't buy that with money.
Yeah, superpowers. Money's overrated.
Yeah.
Toilet paper roll, over or under?
Oh, great question. Over.
I'm an under. I've always been an under.
I think under, and the reason why is because when you go over, doesn't it like always like
Yeah.
pulls off, I guess. I don't
Well,
know.
it does, but it's easier to grab. You're able to put your hand in behind it to grab it, to pull it down. You don't have to fight with the wall or whatever it's up against. That's just me. That's an argument that could end marriages, I'm sure. And finally, and I'm not sure this really goes towards to Harrison, but it could. What are you doing on November 3rd?
Yeah, I'm not doing anything I can say.
Better be voting if you're in America in November 3rd. Voting.
Harrison can promote voting.
Yeah, that was it. I'll promote it. Yeah,
perfect.
There we go.
I'm also not a US citizen, so I'll be helping my wife vote. But I cannot yet vote. So hopefully in the next couple of years I'll be American citizen, and I'll be able
There you
to
go.
vote.
But you'll be promoting everybody to vote.
Correct.
Very good. Well, that was it. That was the BroncCast. I want to thank head coach of the Cal Poly Pomona men's soccer team, Matt O'Sullivan, and senior Garrett Jensen, and freshman Harrison Cliff of the Cal Poly Pomona men's soccer team. Thanks for being with me.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
That'll do it for episode 4 of the BroncCast. I want to thank CPP men's soccer head coach Matt O'Sullivan, senior Garrett Jensen, and freshman Harrison Cliff for joining me today. For new episodes of the BroncCast each week, make sure to visit our website at broncoathletics.com/podcast and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at our handle CPP Broncos. Weekly podcasts are also available for free download on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, and TuneIn. For everyone in the CPP Department of Intercollegiate Athletics, I'm Tyler Loby, encouraging you to make it a great day reminding you that Black Lives Matter, and be sure to rock the vote on November 3rd. As always, go green, go gold, go Broncos.